Hey everybody, it's Angela, and I had a request to do a flip through of one of my albums, and I was just going to do a quick flip through of baby layouts I had made because I'm just about ready to give the layouts to their moms. I've already given them a batch of layouts in the past. When their first babies turned 1, I gave them all the layouts that I had done up until that point. And so now their second babies have turned 1, and so I'm going to give them another batch of layouts to combine in the same albums that I gave them last time, because the last albums that I gave them weren't quite full. So they can just add these into that same book. And so even though these aren't super old or anything, I thought I'd just go ahead and do a quick flip through. You might get some ideas for baby layouts if you're doing anything like that, or just some layouts in general. Or if you've missed a process video and you're interested, you can go back and look through. I should have a playlist with just process videos that you can take a look at. So this one I did just recently, and I really love this one. I love the graphic quality of it, and the stamping that I did in the background was a little bit different for me, and just a few splatters. So not very much mixed media on this, not even a lot of layering or anything. This graphic paper really does it, you know, for me, and all the color. And then I just used some really old embellishments to jazz up this collection, because I think I only have the paper pad and the ephemera pieces to this Chamel collection. And there is a process video on that. And this is another one I did just recently of Levi's birthday that was Minion themed, and so I did this one side here, and this is using really old supplies and some clip art that I got, and then I did a pocketed page for the other side to correspond with that. And just because it was an event with a lot of photos, so I just scrapped 2 that kind of show him eating the cake, and then some others that kind of tell the story of the party. And that way you can get a lot of different photos from an event. You don't have to scrapbook each one of these separately as a 12 by 12 layout. So that's fun. And I left spaces on here for each of the moms to do some journaling in their own handwriting, you know, because kids like to see their mom's handwriting later in life, and it gives that personal touch. You don't have to handwrite on every layout, but it's nice to have a little bit of your own handwriting somewhere on your layout. So I left room for them to do that. And then on the other side is this picture, these pictures of the boys at a tulip garden. And so since it was kind of a photo op, there was a lot of photos from this event as well. So I did a 12 by 12 corresponding page of the family together, and then just some of the other images that they took and outtakes and things like that. So again, there were a lot of pictures from this. So I went ahead and did a double page. And this one was really fun. I used a really super old Sizzix die. It was fun to get that out. Did a little stitching on it to kind of bring it and make an old die a little more contemporary. And did a little bit lighter background with some stamping in the background. Again, to try to make this a little more contemporary in style, even though I was using, you know, some pretty old supplies. I have this one. I just used like one of those roller stamps in the background, just peeking out a little bit. You know, not very much mixed media on this at all. Some of these 4x6 cards that have cutouts, since I don't have a silhouette, I like to get things that have the cutouts done for me, just so I can get that touch, again, of like a current trend, even though I haven't really invested in the actual equipment to do it. And just a few chipboard pieces. And this one, this was one I did using some winnings that I got from Mercy Tara's 27-day challenge. And I used what she sent me. I did some heat embossing with some of the stamps that she sent, used the stickers and everything on some star paper, and did a little bit of stitching on here as well. So again, not very much mixed media at all, just enough splatters and a little bit of embossing to kind of give that look without getting too messy. If you're not into a lot of messy mixed media, you don't have to use a lot to kind of get that, just a little bit of that look. And I used all patterned paper for this, so no white background or anything on this one. Whereas on this one, I totally went mixed media white background, and then I cut out the one myself again to give a kind of silhouette cut look to it, and then just I drew some of the little monsters and did some watercoloring, and there is a process video on this if you're interested in seeing these techniques. On this one, not a lot of supplies used on this, just the paper, which had all this pre-printed on the edges. So I just did some simple matting of the photos here in kind of a vertical presentation, and then used some cork pieces and just did a little bit of splattering in gold on here. And I really like how this one turned out. On this one I did a lot of layering with a lot of pattern paper. Really fun to do kind of a collage style. And it looks like most of this is from the Little U collection. And I used thickers that were already just kind of had all these on there to do my title, so that makes it easy. And I think I have a process video on this. I will say that I had to go back on some of these, and that's why I like to kind of hold on to them for a bit before I give them to the moms. I went back because I had used this, and unfortunately I don't have the packaging still to know what it is, but these were like some 3-packs I got at Tuesday Morning, and this dry adhesive did not continue to hold. It pops and cracks. I don't know if you can hear that, but and it'll start falling apart. So I went back and used some Scotch Quick Dry to touch up some places on some of these layouts where I had used this adhesive. So I will not be buying this anymore. Now I don't know if all of these dry dot adhesive glue runners are like that. You know, I see a lot of people using it and not having a problem, I guess. So, you know, maybe it's just this brand, but I think that I'm going to, in the future, use a combination of my ATG gun and some wet adhesive just to hedge my bets on that everything's going to stay adhered and not fall apart, because I don't want this to fall apart when, you know, a year or two from now and the moms are seeing everything fall into the bottom of the page protectors. You know, that's not good. So this one has quite a bit of mixed media on it in the background. I also did use my embossing folder on there and put some thread, and then just a lot of little puffy stickers and a couple buttons. I really like how that turned out. I like to have a combination of like this collage style with pattern paper with some mixed media, and just to change it up from page to page. This one here, not a lot of mixed media, just a few sprinkles, but I did use a white background, and then I went to town with my bow dies and just cut a whole bunch of little bows, and this is one of my favorites, I think. I really love how this turned out with all those little bows. It's very sweet. And there is a process video on this one. Again, I used a lot of pattern paper on this from one collection here, so I did a lot of matting and used pieces from the ephemera pack and just kind of framed the picture in with a lot of layering and ephemera, and put a little bow and some enamel pieces and just a few sprinkles. So this one came together really easy, and I love the colors. I think it has really good impact. It's cheery, and again, it has sort of a mixed media look, but it's just because of those sprinkles. So yeah, I like that. And then this one I did for a challenge, and I got out a bunch of my laces out of my stash and just sewed them onto the background for a lot of texture. Used these crepe paper rosettes on here and a clip, and then there's a little envelope here that could tuck a message into, and then I just did a few sprinkles in the background, and there is a little bit of, looks like maybe I used a gelato or something in the background. There should be a process video on this one. This one I just did some stamping in kind of a line down here, and put a little bit of thread and just a few little ephemera pieces around with a thickers title. And I really love how this one turned out. And this one I did a little bit more mixed media. I did some colors in the background and some splatters, and then I used my die cuts to die cut out these hearts and do some stitching on the background. So I really love how this one turned out with the black and white photo on there, and there is a process video on this one. On this, it's just mostly pattern paper. I did some die cuts with some stitching to make this banner, and then I also used my die cuts to make a bunch of flowers and this word love. And then just used a bunch of papers from my stash. And then this is a 2-page spread that I did here recently, and with just some clusters of embellishments, and some of these are fussy cut out of the paper, and then I used my die cut, my Big Shot, to cut out most of the flowers that I put on there. I used a punch to do this scalped border. I put a little bit of watercolor in the background, did a little bit of stamping on there. And then this is the corresponding page, the 2-page spread, again with a lot of the things that I die cut, and then a couple things that I fussy cut out of the paper collection. So I really like how those turned out. Then on the back I have this one. I did this one a while ago. I did this, the black and gold flowers I die cut on my Big Shot, but I used lids from a hot cocoa container and a cottage cheese container, the plastic lids, to cut out these flowers. So it was a little bit of recycling. And just layered up a bunch of papers, put my flowers down. I used an acrylic piece for my titles, did a few gold sprinkles on there. And that was this page, and there should be a process video on that. This is a little bit older one that I did. I did a little bit of watercoloring in kind of a circle, and then I used a bunch of Saw Crafters products that I had painted white, and then put some gelatos on there, and just kind of, you know, made kind of a wreath. Has a very dreamy quality to it, so I really like this one. This one I used some carbon paper to trace, to draw this photo of Mason. Yes, Mason. And because there were several shots in a row of him, so I took one shot to trace up here, and then I put 2 more down here, and just a bunch of layering and some sequins. And that turned out really cute. Very different. These next 2 are just going to stay in my folder there, or in my scrapbook of the grandkids. And these are just the Christmas cards that each of the kids sent. So I have this one with a couple acrylic pieces, layered some ephemera, and I have a process video for both of these. Was nice to get these already printed photos in the Christmas cards, so I thought I might as well just use them, and they're already dated and have all the names and everything on there for me. Here's this one, which was Saturday morning cartoons, and it's all patterned paper, and it's just kind of a big collage and kind of a diagonal pattern. And yeah, just fussy cut some of these pieces out of the paper. Used a bunch of the stickers, and there is a process video on this. This one, I don't think there was a process video. I did this at the farm. I can tell because the supplies I used are pretty old supplies, but I used some rub-ons here and here, and some patterned paper and this large banner that I put up on foam tape. And so it's a very simple, you know, I probably would like to put some sprinkles or something on it, but you know, I'm not. I'm going to leave it just as I made it. And this was just meeting Allison for the first time. And then this one I did at the farm too, so there's no video on this, but it was just using some really super old supplies and doing a vertical column here, and then a vertical column of embellishments. So I really like that, and I used up, like I said, some really old stuff to do that one. And this one, I used this paper, which was like a big month calendar paper. So it had a lot of all this pre-printed on the background for me. So I just matted my photos. And again, put some embellishments going diagonally and used some really old silk flowers, some jewels. And it looks like maybe some of the Maggie Holmes ephemera and some thickers for my title. And did a little bit larger title than what I normally do. And some really super old brads in the center of those flowers. But I like how that turned out. This one had a lot of mixed media on it. I was going for kind of a purple theme. So I did some pinky purple on here, and then I did some stamping in black just to kind of give it a doodly looking effect. And then some fabric yo-yos. A little bit of thread underneath some of the yo-yos. I used my Big Shot to cut some bows out and some sparkly silver thickers for the title. This one, I know there's a process video on this as well. This one was a scrap lift, and it had the central photo with a big ring of embellishments around it and 2 large flowers. And then came down and had a title down here. So I really love this. It was different than what I probably would have come up with on my own. So it was fun to do a scrap lift. And I love the colors of it and all the nursery rhyme images on there. And I used some of the Saw Crafters wood products to give it some dimension, and I used the Saw Crafters title. So really cute. And then the last one in here is this one where I used a stamp and die set, and then my stylus to kind of, I don't know, I'm sorry about the glare, but I was just going to try to show you a little bit of, so you could see some of the dimension on those berries. And I just used this big starburst paper, some homemade word phrase stickers, and some glittery thickers on there, and there is a process video on this. And that is all the baby layouts I have done in my possession right now. And so I'm going to divvy a bunch of these up and give them to their moms and stuff, but I thought I'd go ahead and share them before I did that. And so if you have any questions on this, just let me know. I'm going to, I think, kind of stop on the baby layouts for the moment and do a few other layouts and maybe work on some farm stuff here for a bit. And so anyhow, I just wanted to share those before I sent them on to their respective mothers. So anyhow, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you have any questions, just let me know. I'll talk to you later. Bye.